All right, let's talk about nothing. It sounds simple, right? Maybe even empty, but stick with me, because we're about to find out how nothing is actually one of the most powerful somethings we've ever come up with. So let me ask you a question, and it's a bit of a brain teaser. How do you count nothing? I mean, really, how do you put a number on something that isn't even there? It sounds impossible, right? Well, this very question stumped some of the greatest minds for centuries, and believe it or not, the answer totally changed the world. So first up, let's look at this long, kind of winding road to finally giving nothing a number. This is the story of how emptiness went from being just a spooky idea to a tool that would change everything.
You know, for the longest time, especially for people like the ancient Greeks, nothing wasn't a number at all. It was this big, scary philosophical concept, the void, non-being. I mean, who would want to put that in an equation? So you've got these brilliant minds inventing incredible geometry and philosophy, but they literally had no symbol, no number for zero. It just didn't compute for them.
So you gotta wonder, how did we get from that philosophical headache to the number zero that we use, a million times a day? Well, it turns out it was a heck of a journey, and it takes us all around the world. It didn't happen all at once. The idea sort of evolved. Way back around 300 BCE, you had Mesopotamian astronomers using a symbol, but it was really just a placeholder. Think of it like a way to tell 205 from 25. Then, completely on their own, over in the Americas, the Mayan civilization came up with this amazing shell glyph for zero in their calendars. But the real game changer? That happened in 7th century India. A mathematician named Brahmagupta was the first person to say, hey, zero isn't just a space filler, it's a number. From there, it traveled through the Arab world, and finally, Fibonacci brought it over to Europe in the 13th century. And let me tell you, they were not immediately convinced. And this is why Brahmagupta was such a genius. He's the one who gave us the first real definition. Zero is what you get when you subtract a number from itself. So simple, right? But so powerful. All of a sudden, you could do math with nothing. You could actually calculate with it. And that opened up a whole new universe for mathematics.
Okay, so we've got the number, great. But that didn't solve a much weirder, deeper puzzle. How do our brains actually perceive an absence? How do you see something that isn't there? So now let's shift gears from math to the mysteries of the mind.
It's funny, our own language plays this little magic trick on us. Look at these two sentences. We can say, there are no apples. Simple enough, we're just counting an absence. But then we can say, the basket is filled with nothing. See what happened there? By turning nothing into a noun, into a thing, we've suddenly made the emptiness feel present. It becomes a thing you can fill a basket with. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre had a perfect example of this. He talks about showing up late to a cafe to meet his friend, Pierre. And when he gets there, he doesn't just see a bunch of strangers. He says he actively saw the absence of Pierre. That specific not-there-ness of his friend was a real, solid part of his experience. And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. Get this. When the Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre, something absolutely wild happened. More people went to the museum to stare at the empty spot on the wall than had usually gone to see the actual painting. We are just captivated by an absence, by a void. It's fascinating. Okay, so we've covered the invention of zero, and we've talked about how our brains can somehow see an absence. But now we get to the big twist. Because what if I told you that according to modern physics, the nothing we've been talking about this whole time doesn't actually exist? Let's do a little thought experiment together. Imagine we have a box, and we take everything out. I mean everything. Every atom, all the light, all the radiation, everything. It's completely, totally empty. What's left inside? So the common sense answer, right? The intuitive answer is, well, nothing. A perfect void, absolute emptiness. And that answer is totally, completely wrong. Yeah, really, because when you zoom way down to the quantum level, that empty box is actually a raging, chaotic sea of activity. It is fizzing and bubbling with energy and little ghost particles that blink in and out of existence. It turns out true, absolute nothingness is physically impossible. This wild idea is called zero-point energy, and it all comes from something called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The basic idea is that the universe has this fundamental rule. You can't know a particle's exact position and its exact momentum at the same time. Think about it. If a particle was perfectly still,
Zero energy. You'd know both its location and its momentum, which is zero. The universe says, nope, can't do that. So to keep things uncertain, everything, even in what we think of as an empty vacuum, has to constantly jiggle with a tiny bit of energy. Space is never, ever truly empty.
I love this quote from Quantum magazine because it just nails it. The quantum vacuum isn't empty space. It's nothing infused with the potential to be anything. It's this sea of potential where everything in our universe could and does spring into existence. Just mind-bending stuff.
Wow. So we've gone from a mathematical invention to a puzzle for our minds to this deep quantum sea of potential. So let's bring it all back home. How does this powerful, paradoxical idea of nothing actually shape our world today?
Oh, the power of zero is absolutely everywhere you look. It's the bedrock of calculus, which lets us understand change. It's the anchor in algebra, x plus 0 is still x. It's what makes our whole number system work. And of course, it is literally one half of the binary code, the zeros and ones, that power every single piece of digital technology you own. So, in a very real way, our entire modern world is built on nothing.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? I think it's that nothing, this idea we invented just to talk about an absence, has turned out to be one of the most powerful and present forces in our universe. It's this incredible journey from a void in our thinking to the very foundation of reality itself, which makes you wonder, right? Maybe, just maybe, nothing is the most interesting thing of all.